Well, that's our intro. Here comes the sun and here comes SunnyFest. Welcome everybody who is joining us today or at some time in the future. Today we are doing our Sunny Wines tasting. We'll talk about all things Sunny, and we're going to be tasting through 6 of our Sunny wines in the lineup. I'm Heidi, Chief Sunny Officer, and I'm sitting next to Casey DeCesare, the winemaker for Sunny with a Chance of Flowers. So I'm going to start off by saying a little bit about Casey, some fun facts about this guy sitting next to me.
Thank you.
Casey was a Division I pole vaulter at UCLA. After that, he became a celebrity trainer to the stars. And then he decided that winemaking was where it's at. And so he went back to school and got his master's at Cornell in enology. He is a very proud girl dad. He has 2 little girls, both under the age of 2.
Oh yeah. 16 months and 5 weeks.
So Evie is 16 months and Isabella was born on April 14th, which is my son Cooper's birthday as well. So yep. Isabella was born on April 14th. So hopefully Casey is going to be able to talk coherently about the wines because I think he's surviving on an average of 3.5 hours of sleep per night.
I got 4 hours last night.
Oh, good. Good. You are refreshed.
I'm refreshed. I'm ready.
And you know what? When you are a new parent and you can't overindulge, Sunny wines are perfect.
Yes, and sympathy weight is a real thing, and I'm not going to give up wine because that's me. So Sunny Wines is that's part of my plan going forward. So.
Perfect. Well, we are going to taste through 6 of our Sunny wines. We're going to talk about the wines. We're going to answer some of the top questions that we receive from people through emails and DMs along the way. But please, if you have any questions, type them into the chat box and we will answer them as we kind of move through this. So I'm excited that we are starting with the latest wine to our portfolio, and that is our Sunny Bubbly Rosé. Sunny, right, first of all, how cute are these openers here? Sunny is bottled in a crown cap closure, which I love because it makes getting into bubbly. I mean, I love the pop of the champagne cork, but I'm always slightly terrified that someone's eye is going to get poked out. This is our crown cap closure. The message on it is born to sparkle, which I love. All of our Sunny wines, some people don't realize this, but each one of our capsules has a unique message. So we will share those with you as we pop open these wines. So we've got our Born to Sparkle Sunny Bubbly Rosé, and we will start with that. Casey, tell me a little bit about this one.
Sure. Well, and closure wise, I love easy access. So I'm all about the crown caps and the screw caps. This bubbly, which super excited to make, really fun to make. I feel like just belonged in the Sunny portfolio. This is a Merlot and Syrah based blend. What we do is we pick those grapes at nice ripeness, kind of premium for that sparkling, which you want. So not overly ripe, you still have a little bit of that acidity, but that perfect little ripeness. We press it right away when it comes into the winery. We don't want any tannins in there. We want to have that pretty pink color. And then, we ferment it to dryness, which is kind of essential in the whole Sunny process. And ferment it cool, trying to preserve all those fruity aromas and flavors. And then we sparkle it up and put it in a bottle and enjoy. I might have missed the whole, lower alcohol step, but we'll get more.
We'll definitely get into that. Well, first of all, cheers. I think we're gonna have to cheers 6 times because it's hard for me to open a bottle of wine and not cheers. So,
it's like bad luck.
So that's one. We're 1 for 6.
Cheers. No, I love the strawberry, watermelon. I mean, that's really kind of what the Merlot and Syrah give to it. It's really that like strong red fruit flavors, really delicious.
I've poured Sunny at a lot of different tastings, and one of the questions that I always get, because people taste it and they're like, wait, how can this be 0 sugar? Like there's so much flavor, it almost tastes sweet. And one of the questions that we also get in emails is how do you make it 0 sugar? So can you talk a little bit about the process of how a wine is 0 sugar?
0 sugar, sure, yeah. So in the ripening process, grapes, as they plump up and getting ready for picking, they gain sugar and the acid goes down. So we have a lot of sugar in grapes to start off with. So we got this really great, yummy juice. And then we go through the alcoholic fermentation process. So we add yeast, and that yeast converts that sugar into alcohol and CO2. And as long as you let that yeast do its job, it'll consume all that sugar, and that's how you get your lovely alcohol, and you get a little bubble in the background. So we're just letting the yeast do its job and get it all the way down to zero. We're not leaving any residual sugar. We're not trying to pick early, we're trying to pick right. So that's how we get that all the way down to
So
zero.
zero residual sugar, that's kind of that winemaking term, residual sugar. We ferment to complete dryness, so there's no sugar remaining. But another question that I get on that is, okay, so do you get your sweetness from adding artificial sweeteners?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and a popular question. I get it because there is that kind of perceived sweetness in this almost. And wine is funny because it can trick your brain a little bit. Something that's fruity can really be perceived as sweet.
Yeah.
So like you go to the grocery store, you pick up that really ripe peach and you smell that peach, you're like, oh, that smells sweet. And you bite into that peach and it's super sweet. And so that your brain associates that ripe fruit with that sweet perception. And so when you go into you'll see that in all these wines, really, that beautiful bright fruit, then it goes on the palate, your brain kind of tricks itself. Oh, this must be sweet. It's fruity, it's bright,
Yeah.
it must be sweet. But really, there's no sugar in this at all.
No sugar, no artificial sugar, none of that. It's just the fruit and nothing but the fruit.
That's it. That's it.
Love it. Well,
Thank our growers. They
it
do
is
an excellent job. So
super tasty, and there's no better way to start our tasting or really to start an evening than with a glass of bubbles.
Exactly.
So one more sip before we move on. Delicious. Okay, our next wine is also a fairly new release. We released this kind of a limited edition, and it is so popular that we are going to be making much more of it in this coming vintage. And that is our Pinot Grigio. And the message on the capsule on the Pinot Grigio is shine bright. Tell us a little bit about our PG, as we call it.
Yeah. So Pinot Grigio, again, all these sunny wines, we like to let those grapes hang and get ripe and really develop those flavors. And when we're really tasting those flavors in the vine, that's when we're going to bring the grapes into the wine. We bring it in. Pinot Grigio is a really interesting grape. It actually kind of has a gray color to it. We make a white wine out of it. So
Sometimes called Pinot Gris, the French.
exactly,
Right.
totally, exactly. So it's important to come in, press it really quickly. So again, you're getting a nice, pretty clear juice. Again, nice, ripe, sweet, lots of sugar to start out with. We ferment it nice and cool, so that helps hold on to those aromas and those flavors. One really cool thing in Pinot Grigio, which this and Sauvignon Blanc kind of show a really good example of our growing region. Monterey County is a really unique place. We have really warm in the south, we have really cool in the north. And this, it's really expressed in this Pinot Grigio, where you have some of those citrus notes kind of more northern, more cool.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more of those stone fruit, pear notes, a little bit from the warmer region. So we're really lucky to be able to grow grapes here and use grapes from Monterey County in our state vineyards. And it really reflects itself into a beautifully kind of complex, interesting, well-balanced Pinot Grigio.
It is so beautiful and clean and crisp. Like a great, I don't know, like having bubbly and then Pinot Grigio and then Sauvignon Blanc that might be excessive all in one night, but on a night when you don't want to do the bubbles, you could do the Pinot Gris because it's that great way to start the evening, a great aperitif wine. So all of the wines of Sunny and all of the wines throughout our lineup are zero sugar, and they're all 99% alcohol and 85 calories. We get a lot of questions about the 9% alcohol. How do you get the wines to get down to 9%? Because typical wines are anywhere from 12 to 15%.
Sure.
So going down to 9% is a pretty dramatic reduction and is probably my absolute favorite thing about the Sunny wines, because I enjoy a couple of glasses of wine on a weeknight. I also get up early and exercise in the morning. And this kind of allows me to do both and to moderate and feel good, even if I've had, 2 fairly generous servings of wine on a Tuesday night. So how do we get to 9% alcohol and still have it taste as good as it does?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that was a bit of a challenge when we started working on this project is, how do we get it down to where with a lower calorie, lower carb, lower alcohol, zero sugar? That's a big challenge when you're looking at trying to make a balanced and delicious wine.
I remember you told me when we were talking about it, you were like, yeah, we can do a low alcohol wine and zero sugar. And you're like, okay, wait, you're literally taking away every tool I have as a winemaker.
Yeah. First thing like low alcohol. Oh, put sugar in. People like sugar. Mid palate. That's delicious. Like no zero sugar. Oh, great. Okay, we'll figure this one out.
Yeah.
So a lot of trials, a lot of experimentation. And ultimately, like I said, we picked these to write this. We're fermenting this Pinot Grigio. It ends at around 13 or so % alcohol. Now, how do we get it down to 9%? We've done a lot of studies and a lot of work, and we developed a proprietary system that's a specialized filter that very gently is removing the alcohol. It takes a longer time than other methods out there, but really it respects the fruit really well. And that's why you end up with a wine that doesn't feel like 9%. It feels like your full-fledged partner wine, because we're really gentle in the process of just removing that alcohol and to result in our 9%.
Yep, and we have done a ton of competitive tastings in Shirley. We do this pretty regularly. Our winemaking group gets together and kind of puts Sunny blind up against all the other low alcohol wines. And I truly believe in our blind taste test that we have the best tasting low alcohol wine in the category. And that's a testament to our vineyard team, which grows unbelievably beautiful grapes, delicious grapes here in Monterey County and the Central Coast of California, and to you and our winemaking team for taking those grapes that are grown with such attention to detail and bringing them into the winery and treating them carefully and with respect, and making sure that in the removal of alcohol, you're not also removing flavors and aromas, but you're really keeping all that intact.
Right. Well, like I said, there's so many people that do such hard work to get it to that finish line. Why are we going to put, some method on it and ruin the fruit and ruin the wine? That was obviously that's a big part of the whole process. So
yeah. Well done. The Pinot Grigio is absolutely delicious. Oh yeah. Cheers.
Yeah.
I hope there's a few people tasting long. It's 7 o'clock on the East Coast. It's only 4 o'clock in California, which to me is, fine time. That's serious.
Yeah. I mean, we can go on New York time.
Yeah. Okay, our next wine is the Sunny Sauvignon Blanc. I have to be honest, this is probably the one that I reach for the most. Although the bubbly is brand new, so that might become the one I reach for the most. But the Sunny Sauvignon Blanc is just kind of a no-brainer wine to me. The message on the bottle is power of positivity. And tell us about the SB.
Sure. Yeah. So again, kind of like this Pinot Grigio, we have such a beautiful growing region here, and we're able to select grapes from more southern, more northern, really complexify a Sauvignon Blanc. And for me, I think Monterey County Sauvignon Blancs can compete with anywhere else in the world. So can we bring it in, just like the other whites here, we'll ferment it cool. We'll have multiple lots to play with. Some lots might be a little more tropical, some might be a little bit more melon or guava, and we'll come up with that perfect balance and that perfect blend, and then we'll go through our DL process. And again, it's winemaking can be complex and it can be really simple, and we try to be as hands-off as possible and just respect the land, respect the fruit, and just make the cleanest and something that really represents Sauvignon Blanc. We're not trying to be anything else. It's just positively Sauvignon Blanc.
Well, here on our vineyards, we have been farming Sauvignon Blanc for many, many years, decades. So we kind of consider ourselves somewhat a Sauvignon Blanc experts. We grow it on a lot of our different vineyards, and it's always been a varietal that I have loved for my entire adult life, and really has become increasingly popular. I think as people are eating lighter fare, they're kind of leaning more into kind of the lighter style wines.
Yeah. And that tropical fruit that pops in this, really it gives that burst of flavor, which
It's
I really love. Super yummy. It's really a standalone. I love Pinot Grigio with food. It's really balanced and really easy. And then that Sauvignon Blanc is that top of fruit. It's great with pairing with a little bit more intense dishes on kind of that lighter side.
Yeah.
It's a great go-to.
So there are a lot of people that are concerned about carbs, and Sunny has lower carbs than your average wine. Can you tell us a little bit about carbs in wine and in Sunny?
Sure. Do you want the nerdy answer? Or do you want the simple answer?
I want both.
All right. Well,
I love it when you get all nerded.
So essentially in wine, there's you have your sugars, which glucose, fructose, sucrose. You got your 5 pentoses, and so we ferment to dryness, and those residual carbohydrates come from your polysaccharides that are naturally occurring, which help. Those are long chain carbohydrates, and also your 5 pentoses, which are unfermentables. We ferment all the glucose and fructose, and so that's why we're 0 sugar. But there's some residual carbons still living in the wine, kind of naturally occurring, and that's where you get your carbohydrates from. But because we go that far, we are much lower than your standard glass of wine.
Okay, that makes a little bit of sense, not 100%. So what's the simpler, more layman that is something, doesn't use words like pentoses and polysaccharides?
Basically, we ferment our wines dry. We don't add back any sugar. You know, it's common that wine on the shelf might have a little bit of add back sugar. Sugar is delicious. I love sugar.
Right.
But
Humans love sugar.
humans love sugar. So, you know, even a very small amount can really raise your carbohydrates in a wine. So we don't do any of that. We ferment it to dryness, and we, you know, we're at 0 sugar, and that's what kind of lowers our carbohydrates.
Yeah.
In the wine.
Yeah, it's funny. I've like lots of times in my life I thought, okay, I need to cut out sugar. Like that's just kind of like a good health thing that you try to do, but I had never really thought about it so much in the wine.
Right.
So it's actually with Sunny very easy to cut out sugar in your wine.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
much more difficult in other areas of my life because I love candy.
Well, this is, I mean, in the wines, there's not that much transparency. I mean, we're listing it right on the back of the bottle. You're really seeing what you're getting in each glass. And
Yeah.
so I mean, I think things are moving in that direction, and you know, it's nice to see on the back of our bottle.
Yeah, and it's a great point. You know, every single one of our bottles calls out the calories, the 0 sugar, and the alcohol on the front label, and then on the back label, pretty easy to read in this call out stripe here. We have our average analysis for 5 fluid ounces, and it calls out calories, carbohydrates, protein, and fat. So very much believers in that transparency,
Absolutely.
and it's good to see. Okay, cheers.
Oh, cheers. Can't forget.
I feel like I'm drinking more than you because, you know,
I'm already.
while you're answering the question,
Well,
I'm trying wine.
I'm already on the tire train, so I want to be able to make it to the finish.
Right. Okay, on to Chardonnay. The capsule on our Chardonnay is Choose Happy. The Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir and the Sauvignon Blanc were the first 3 varietals that we introduced in Sunny back in mid 2020 at the very early stages of COVID. I remember that was such a weird time. And we were so excited to be introducing a 9% alcohol wine, but then we realized that everybody was actually just home getting wasted because there was nowhere to go. And we're like, wow, maybe we should make it 19% alcohol instead of 9%. But I don't know, after like, you know, being stuck indoors and everybody drinking excessively, the pendulum kind of swung back again, and people like, okay, I do enjoy having a cocktail or a glass or 2 of wine at night, but how do I make it more moderative and fit into my lifestyle? So we became impassioned.
Exactly. Well, and I didn't mind during COVID to, you know, I could enjoy a full glass or a full bottle, and then, you know, maybe crack the second one.
Right.
You know, maybe it's like, no, it wasn't as bad
It
as
wasn't as bad.
I did that was another alcoholic choice. So
Yeah, no, we've done experiments with how much Sunny you can drink and still feel good the next morning, but I don't know, maybe we'll have to talk about that in a
different forum.
private message me. So tell us about the Chardonnay.
Sure, Chardonnay, beautiful growing region, lots of kind of this Arroyo Seco here, which is a kind of a coveted area for growing Chardonnay all through Monterey County. This wine, some were fermenting on oak, some were fermenting stainless steel, and we're really trying to find that beautiful balance of a little bit of oak, a little bit of that nice stone fruit. And again, we're aging this. Some of them we're doing a little yeast stirring, kind of building that mid palate.
So what tell us about yeast stirring? What does that do?
Sure. So when a wine ferments, the yeast, they're consuming the sugars, turning to alcohol, they die off. And then when their dead cells are at the bottom, sorry.
Dead cells.
They're at the bottom of a tank. And they actually contain a lot of really powerful tools to be able to build mouthfeel. So those polysaccharides I talked about earlier, nanoproteins, these are things that are contained in the yeast cell that then get expelled into solution. And so it's a really great tool. You know, you do a little yeast stirring, allowing these to kind of come up in solution that builds that mid palate.
Yeah.
So a lot of those big oakier Chardonnays are the ones that aren't, you know, going for that super crispness. They'll use this technique to be able to kind of build up that mid palate. And so we use a bit of that here.
It's one of the beautiful subtle things about wine is texture and mouthfeel. Sometimes I don't think we talk about it enough. We're always talking about aroma and flavor, but that's what makes wine so special. It's what makes it so food friendly. It's what gives it that yum factor, is that mouthfeel and that texture. And that's kind of what you can lose very easily when you're removing alcohol if you don't have the right.
Exactly. Well, and that was the big challenge too. Alcohol, the higher it is, it actually can give a perceived sweetness. It can really build and fill out a mid palate. It also plays with tannins as well, which you'll kind of see in these other ones. How we found that balance, but when you remove that, all of a sudden you're removing a bit of that mid palate. You're removing a bit of that. So again, it's in our process, we're able to recover and maintain that full mouthfeel. But yeah, that's part of it. So.
Wow, delicious. I love Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Okay, a question. Yeah, popcorn on the couch. Oh my God, how did you know that?
That was last night.
Okay, another question that we get sometimes is asking if the Sunny wines are vegan. Yes, they are. Asking if they're gluten-free. Yes, they are. But tell me about like wines being vegan and wines being gluten-free.
Sure. Yeah. So old school wine techniques, there's a few things that would potentially use some animal byproducts, or one good example is egg whites. Very traditional, super old school. Like this has been used for decades and decades. It's a really powerful tool to be able to soften tannins. So if you're really aggressively tanning, Petite Rock, Cabernet, and you want to soften that up, you would essentially adding egg whites to your wine, and it would soften it up, make it more approachable.
What form are the egg whites in?
It's a liquid. You make it into kind of a liquid form.
Okay.
Nowadays they create a powder and make it to a liquid, but you can go as old school as you want with that, really.
Right.
So
you put that into the wine.
Straight into the wine, and then as that settles, it actually grabs onto those tannins and it pulls them out in solution. So this tannins and the stuff that's really giving you that biting, grippy. Some are really good, but maybe the big tannins, they're a little too grippy on the palate, and those you want to remove. So something like egg whites is a really powerful tool. But it's something that you don't necessarily need to use. There's a lot of technology out there, and also just in your winemaking process, you can look to avoid some of these non-vegan friendly additives. And so we've transitioned over the years to where now we don't have anything that we use in the winery that has had any animal byproduct. And so we're totally vegan friendly with all of our wines. And
And fantastic. And then how about gluten-free?
Gluten-free wines are just they're naturally gluten-free. Coming from grapes, you're using yeast, and it's a pretty natural process. We're not touching any grains or anything like that.
So as long as you don't have grains in your winery.
Yeah, exactly.
That you come into contact with.
Right. We're not growing beer and making wine here. So
yeah, pretty much all wines. It kind of cracks me up. There's a few wines that I've seen out there, I won't name names, that are like, we're gluten-free. And I'm like, all wines kind of gluten-free. So we're here to tell you that all wines are naturally gluten-free. So unless they're being processed in a place that is also processing grains, and it could be some chance of cross contamination, you're pretty safe with wines being gluten-free. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, are we did we choose? We did choose.
We should.
Okay. Okay, on to Sunny Pinot Noir. Our message on the Pinot Noir is the glass is half full, because it really is half full. That's how I like to look at life anyway. It doesn't always feel that way. So Pinot Noir, absolutely. If I had to pick my desert island varietal, and I hope I never have to do that, but I would choose a Pinot Noir because it's a varietal to me that goes with a lot of different foods. It's comforting. Like I could never give up red wine entirely as much as I love my whites. I love red wines. Sometimes, the bigger wines, I like them sometimes, but not all the time. But Pinot Noir is a wine that I could drink every night of the week and every week of the year.
That's right.
So tell us about
the same camp, actually. I love going into winemaking. I was like, well, yeah, you have this cash, and then we're starting like whole journey. Then also Pinot Noir is this delicate varietal that can be so different in so many regions, and depending on the touch of the winemaker, the style can be so different. So yeah, I really fell in love with Pinot Noir, and I'm glad we made so much of it for Sunny.
Right.
And really, you would think with the process, Pinot Noir, maybe it doesn't stand up to it, but I was glad we started actually with these varietals, because they can be really challenging and really temperamental. And if you can do it on Pinot, you can do it on others. Right. So yeah, this Pinot Noir, red wine making, obviously a little bit different from white wine making. Your grapes come into the winery, you press them, you're going to make them into juice, and then you'll ferment that juice dry and put it into whatever vessel you want to. Chardonnay, maybe you're using some barrels. Pinot Grigio, maybe you're keeping a stainless steel tank, depending on what that end product's going to be. For red wine making, we receive the grapes, and rather than pressing them right away, we'll destem them. So we'll just have just whole berries, and we'll put them into a vessel for fermentation. Pinot Noir, we're using open tops, so it's just a big kind of jumbo jug. We're putting a few tons at a time in there, and we're letting the fermentation process happen on the skin. And so that's where we get that beautiful color and texture. For the Pinot Noir, we also see in the Cabernet.
It's like garnet.
Garnet, yeah. Pinot is really known for that beautiful color.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anthocyanins are the color compound in wine, which really gives it that red color. Pinot doesn't have as many as other varietals, and so that's why you can end up with this really pretty ruby garnet color.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we're really gentle with our Pinot. We try not to be overly aggressive. Again, respecting the fruit. We're doing things like punching down instead of pumping over. What that means is during fermentation, you've got this vessel, and you've got your grapes in there, you load them up, fermentation's happening. So alcohol is being converted, but then also CO2 is happening. So that CO2, those bubbles, they're taking all those grapes, and there's juice that's being made, and then the grapes are floating to the top. And so in order to keep contact with the skins and keep getting that kind of extraction of flavors and extraction of color, you want to push that cap of grape skins back down. So you can do that either by using a pump and cycling it over, or using a tool and pushing down the cap. And so we do a lot more punch down than Pinot. Again, we're trying to be really delicate with this. We're just punching it down. It's a gentle kind of stirring of the tank rather than using a slightly more aggressive pump over. Both have their place, but for Pinot, we're trying to be really gentle and nice.
Right, gentle handling all the way. What I love about our Pinot, I mean, our vineyards are in Pinot country, the Central Coast, Monterey in particular is just such a beautiful area for Pinot. We grow Pinot Noir in 6 of our vineyards. So, we kind of have a wealth of Pinot Noir resources around us, but it is such a delicate grape that it is one of the grapes that is easy to screw up. If there isn't the gentle handling, it can be astringent, it can, kind of develop some stemmy characteristics. But because of the winemaking protocols that we have in our winery, what you get, even though we're removing alcohol, is just a beautiful, typical varietally cracked Pinot Noir with those beautiful cherry berry flavors. I get the black cherry, the red cherry, and great drinking.
Yeah, and we're trying to find that balance too. There's just a very hint of oak in the background. We're not trying to be heavy-handed to go. We're really just trying to lift that fruit and keep that kind of on the forefront. So yeah, you get that little backdrop, helps with a little bit of that texture, a little bit of those toasty notes in the back. But really, it's all about those beautiful red fruits to kind of shine through this Pinot Noir.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Okay, gotcha.
So one of the other things about Sunny is that it is the only low alcohol wine in the category that is certified sustainable. And so sustainability is a really big deal here at our company, has been for many, many years. All of our vineyards are certified sustainable by the California Sustainable Wine Growing Alliance, as well as being SIP certified, Sustainability in Practice, which is a Central Coast certification. Our winery is also sustainably certified, and our entire winery, this is kind of probably the most unique feature about us, is that our entire winery is 100% powered by renewable wind energy. We have a wind turbine that is, 100 yards that way.
Yep. Spinning as
and it's actually such a beautiful day today. It is sunny, it is great growing weather, and it has a nice light wind. The turbine is spinning, putting energy onto the grid. And so that single turbine powers 100% of our entire winery campus. So not just the winery, but this room that we're sitting in, our offices, our wine lab and production and bottling, as well as providing energy to 125 homes in our local community. So I don't think we cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, here's to the wind.
To the wind, that's right. And that wind really plays a really unique into our terroir here as well. Not only is it powering our facility, we got this, Monterey Bay, kind of the north part of the county, which is super deep water, super, causes a lot of cooling. There's a big kind of fog that rolls through the whole valley we have here. And then it recedes in the afternoons, and from that deep, cool water, and then we have a desert on the other end of the valley. It's another 70 miles down. You create this lifting of the heat, and the cool water pulls really powerful winds in the afternoon that fire through this valley here. What's really cool about it is that because the wind is so powerful during the peak ripening time, and this is kind of early afternoon, the vines actually, they stop trying to push their development too much because they're kind of fighting the wind a little bit. So it actually extends our hang time, which really can add really elegant aging to our grapes on the vine. And it creates really more a lot of depth of flavor, which is why a lot of world-class Pinot Noirs come from this region, because we have this really unique terroir, which is really driven by the wind.
Yeah, and our AVA, the Monterey AVA that we're in, the hang time is almost a month longer than any other growing region. Longest hang time in California, and that really allows the flavors to develop and concentrate, and you get much more intense varietal character in the wines.
Exactly. Yeah. No, really fortunate to make wines in this area.
Yeah. We are on our last wine,
Okay.
and it is a Cabernet Sauvignon. The message on the capsule is "See the Good." And we released this one. I remember it was right around Thanksgiving of, was that last Thanksgiving? It was Thanksgiving before when we had bottled it. We didn't release it until the beginning of the year. I was able to snag a few bottles, actually, 6 to be exact.
Nice.
And I took them over to my dad's house. and I don't know, my dad at that point, he kept moving Thanksgiving earlier and earlier. Like we used to do it like at 5 p.m. and then it was 4 p.m. There's 3 p.m. I think that year we started it, like we had to be at the house like at 12:30 or something. It's just like, oh my God. Like I just woke up and got showered and so, and you walk in and you just start drinking and it's a long day. And we've got a diverse family. There's 35 people there. They're at all ends of the political spectrum. I mean, we're here, and everything in between. And that can be dangerous on Thanksgiving when you're with each other for many, many hours, drinking alcohol the entire time.
I've gotten in trouble a few holidays. Yeah.
Well, so we like to call Sunny Cabernet the wine that saved Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Because we went through all 6 bottles pretty quickly, but everybody was really good. Like we were all it just kind of mellowed us out, but it didn't make us crazy.
Perfect. Life lesson there.
So there you go. 9% alcohol wine for Thanksgiving is the way to go if you have a spicy family.
Yeah, there you go.
So I know this was a well, cheers. No, it's not. It's the last one. Well, maybe after this we can have we'll go back again.
Yeah, perfect.
But Cabernet, so we did not release the cab initially, even though Cabernet is a very popular varietal. But we needed to take a step back and kind of look about, oh, how are we going to do this? Because it's not as easy of a wine to make in a low alcohol version. Many cabs are 15% alcohol.
Exactly.
So was it a challenge doing a 9%?
Yeah, and surprisingly, I thought Pinot, because it can be a finicky grape and kind of challenge to make. I thought that one would really be the biggest challenge. But when we turned to Cabernet, even though we had their experience making other varietals, it really posed a big challenge. When you have a glass of Cab, you want to have that, big, bold flavors. You want to have that texture. You want to have that tannin. You want to deliver on that kind of alcohol sweetness. Obviously, we're not sweet. We're zero sugar. And you're competing against, like you said, those 15% alcohol wines, those ones that are big, bad, bold, lush. And so when first de-alking, it's like I said, that alcohol, it's removing that mid palate, it's removing that kind of perceived sweetness. So again, you kind of have this maybe hollow wine, and the tannins are out of balance, out of whack. So it took a lot of trials, it took a lot of using different techniques in winemaking to try to figure out that perfect balance of when we get to that 9%, how to deliver on a real cab that can stand up to its counterparts. And I'm really happy with the way it turned out. We used a lot of our more southern vineyards for this one, which ended up playing really nicely into that ripeness one of our vineyards borders right off of Paso Robles. So you get those really hot days, really cool nights down there, down in the Haines Valley AVA at the Southern Monterey County. And that played really nicely with the right selection of oak as well. That also played, oak can give also a perceived sweetness, a richness. And so really finding that balance of beautiful fruit from those select vineyards along with the right oak selection and finding that right balance of the right lots. We got there.
It is so good. Every time I try it, I don't drink it enough. Every time I try this, it is so smooth, so juicy. It's like I just want to take another sip. I mean, it really just, like one sip leads to the next.
No, and even tasting it now, because it's been maybe a month since and I love how it's developing. as well.
I know, like I'm kind of blown away right now, like how good this is tasting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna take the rest of that bottle home with me tonight.
And
Sorry, it's not yours.
Okay. I'll find some in the back of that. But it's really interesting too, because what's the ageability like on a 9% alcohol wine too? And how does that stand up?
Right.
We're used to aging wines and like having those developed flavors over time. And what's really interesting, we've been doing studies and we've been making them since 2018. And those wines we kind of have blind tastings, we sip them next to their counterparts that are full alcohol, and really they're progressing identically to the full alcoholic partners, which is for me has been really interesting. I didn't expect that, and really this 2020 cab is really a case in point. When we first bottled it, bright, fresh, and it was really developed really nicely. Those cans, even then, were great, but they really kind of integrated really well, and it's drinking awesome right now.
I know that's so interesting, like the ageability, because actually, like Bordeaux wines are often low alcohol. I mean, you see a lot of Bordeaux's that are 12.8%.
Right.
I think in California we go because there's abundant sunshine. Bordeaux is rather cool actually. And so it's low yielding vineyards, and they're picking lower sugar, so they have lower alcohol. I think in California we're just used to like big gigantic Napa Reds that are pushing up against 15%,
right?
Or just big in every way, big flavors, big tannins. And hey, there's a great place for that in life. I certainly can appreciate a beautiful Napa Cab when I'm having a thick, juicy steak. I just don't eat a thick, juicy steak all that often. It's kind of a commitment these days. And so this is a Cabernet that you can kind of have with everything. I would love to have this with a roast chicken, like a beautiful rotisserie chicken with maybe some like roasted potatoes and rosemary. This would be so good.
Totally, yeah. I was thinking rosemary, kind of anything.
Yeah.
That little bit of spice and lifted notes of green can really complement this really big berry flavors. And the tannin on this would cut through any steak, chicken's lovely. And it works. Chicken is lovely. I didn't love the chicken put on blue last night. That was bacon.
Okay, so I wanted to say that it is SunnyFest and we are doing a Sunny sweepstakes. So if you have not entered yet, please go onto the website and enter. There are going to be 5 prizes and they are each like an amazing Sunny gift pack. There is a Sunny pickleball racket that is incredible and it's made by Recess. So it's like a high-end pickleball racket, and a Sunny inflatable, a $60 Sunny gift certificate to buy Sunny wine, and a whole bunch of other Sunny summer goodies. That was almost a tongue twister, but I think I did it. So please do enter that. And I think that wraps up our Sunny live tasting. Casey, thank you so much.
Thank you, Heidi.
It was a pleasure. Well, let's make it number 7.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
We have one question. Want to answer that real quick?
Oh, sure.
So someone came in with, how do we reduce the alcohol? I think we already talked about that, but it looks like she might have missed it. So if you want to bring that up one more time.
Yeah, kind of as we talked about earlier, we have our proprietary method, and it's a specialized filtration system, and that's really what we're going with here. There's some other methods that require heating of the wine, and trying to create create like evaporation.
Yeah.
They do a great job of removing alcohol. But it's maybe not the most respectful to character. You lose some of that beautiful essence that wine gives you, those beautiful fruit notes. And so we have a special filtration system that we worked with and developed to, again, really respect the fruit. It's a slower process than those other ones out there. So it really is a commitment, but it really does make a big difference on the other end.
Yeah, so slow and gradual and gentle removal of the alcohol is how we're able to preserve the flavors, the aromas, and the mouthfeel and the texture. 2 very important and often overlooked elements in wine. Are we good to go?
Was it
Jen?
hopefully Kim that answered your question?
What's that?
I think it answered Kim's question, but yeah, that's it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Heidi. Appreciate it.
And we will see you all soon.